Good evening, everyone. Hi again. Um, I'm just checking if this is recording. Yes, it is. I have come across a very interesting PDF, and my new hobby is now to study proto-Bulgarian, because I strongly think that proto-Bulgarian is has something to do with the early Turks and is connected to the Turks. Now, um, let's discuss this and let's have a look at this and study it. Now, Nedyalko Okarov. I was actually going to look at some studies of Boris Simonov, but this is also interesting. It is about the Biala inscription, and I want to show you this runic symbol. Now this symbol, or actually it's tamga, is representing the tamgas of the Turkish tribes. There are altogether 12 Turkish, let's say, Oghuz tribes, and they have different symbols. And one of them is this one. So that's what I want to add here. It says here, at the beginning of the 20th century, young Bulgarian archaeology brought to light several discoveries in the field of runiform. As you know, Turks founded the runes, especially in Mongolia. It's said that it is the place where the Turkish or the Turkic scripts started, the runiform, but I strongly believe that all the runiform, or let's say from Scandinavia to even Anatolia, where there were found some runic scripts, and even in the Hagia Sophia, there is a runic script, and I think this is from the Proto-Bulgarian people, that is, the Turks. Now, but slowly. Let's go slowly. It now dawns on me that all these runic tamgas and the writing system has something together with the culture, the vast Proto-Bulgarian culture, and that is the Turkic culture. That whether it is Anatolia or East Asia or even parts of Scandinavia, I think we were everywhere, and we shared our culture with the people that were there. Let's say in East Asia, we shared it with the our let's say our relatives, with the mostly with the East Asian people. Yes. In Anatolia, we shared it with the Proto-Bulgarians, that is the Turks, and also the cultures that were there. the proto-Turks in Anatolia. That's what I call them now, because I strongly think they are connected. Otherwise, why would it be the Hagia Sophia? It must be built by the proto-Bulgarians, so that Bulgaria should have its capital, Sofia. We call it Hagia Sophia, yes, but I think the church was built by the proto-Bulgarians, that is, the proto-Turks, yes, because there was the ruins there. So if the ruins are there, it must mean something. And also, there were ruins in Germany, there were ruins in Hungary. So it must have been a widespread culture, the culture of the ruins, and even up to Scandinavia. So I think all these areas were the places of the proto-Turks. Not only in East Asia, where people claim to let's say to give the area to the Turks, right? We were not only stuck there. We had our horses, and what we did, we rebelled against injustice. That's what we did. If we felt there was some injustice going on, we rebelled with our horses against the Chinese. We rebelled against other, let's say, Persia, for example, the Massagets. I think the Massagets, they were not Persian. They were horse riders, so they must have been proto-Turkic. They must have been Turks, because the ruler of Persia wanted to control them, and Turks at those times were not easily taken under control. They didn't want to be controlled. So, and even under these circumstances with injustice, the Turks living in those areas, the Sakas, and all the horse riders in those areas in Asia, they rebelled against the newly formed, or let's say about to be formed, Persian Empire. And I think this went on for centuries. Yes, okay, so let's continue. It goes on. So a runic form, a runic script, and this runic form was found at Priska, near the Black Sea shore, right? So the Black Sea actually was the place of the Turks, right? The proto-Bulgarians were actually the first Turks who came into being, and it was built by the early Bulgarian state, by the proto-Turks, let's say. Newly found inscriptions were two. This first was incised on a column located at the rampart near Varna. I heard about places in Romania where there are still some villages where Turkish is spoken, yes. I don't think that it is from a near history or a near historical thing. I think this has something to do with the Scythian times. I think this has something to do with the Bulgarian, with old Bulgarian, or even with, I mean, thousands of years. I think that this was a legacy of the first Turkic, maybe the area of Turkish being formed there. And of course, with the Ottoman Empire, we had those places, we kept those places until the First World War. Yes? So, Varna, yes? It consists of 3 graphemes, well known from the materials from Pliska, right? So, look carefully. This is a tamga from the Turks. The second not only introduced 2 new chapters, but its length was sensational. 5 graphemes. The discovery came from a rampant near a small town of Biala, Varna district. The inscription is engraved carefully on a stone block of yellow limestone. By the way, Biala, it reminds me of Bela. I think he was a Hungarian ruler. Maybe he was the brother of Attila. I'm not sure, right? So, very important information it gives here. And you mean, you get reminded of some other information you have gained before. So this inscription is engraved carefully on a stone block of yellow limestone at the time of discovery, there was still some red plaster in the inscription's grooves, indicating that the inscription originally appeared red on the yellow background of limestone. In this case, Scorpi's opinion was undoubtful. The newly discovered inscription was written in an unknown script used by early medieval Bulgarian. So an unknown medieval Bulgarian is Turkish tamga. And it continues. The record of a 5 grapheme long inscription will eventually be broken, but the inscription from Biala will remain one of the emblematic monuments of Bulgarian runiform script. That's why several scientists try to decipher Biala inscription. They can be divided into 3 groups. Okay, I believe that it is, I think, the second group. They mentioned that it belongs to the second group. Now, but first let's analyze them. Some researchers believe, so this is the inscription, right? Some researchers believe that the graphemes of the inscription belong to an unknown alphabet. Now, this is the runiform, and Turks used it, maybe for thousands of years. And they also say that Scythians used it. So if Scythians used it, they were everywhere. They were not just in East Asia. They were also here, on these grounds, almost everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, except I think the Middle East and parts of the Middle East and Africa. But I mean, mostly, as I mentioned before, they were in these places. That's what I think. And it was a vast culture. I think it was the Tatar culture that I mentioned before so many times. Not just Turks. I mean, if you mean Turks, you actually narrow it a bit, right? But I think this vast runic form or runic alphabet form, the people who used this alphabet, was a wide Tatar culture. which comprised also people from other nations now, for example, Russia, Bulgaria, etc., and Hungary, right? And of course, the parts of Asia and Anatolia where the Turks lived and still live. Now, some researchers believe that the graphemes of the descriptions belong to an unknown alphabet. Now, we solved that, right? It is not an unknown alphabet. It is the ancient Turkic alphabet, and therefore decoded the inscription as one or two words. Edward Tujarski and Ivanov belong to this group. Tujarski reads the inscription from left to right. As you know, the Turks used to write from right to the left. Later they changed it from left to right, like in Latin and Greek. His translation is Tios, T, I, and Os. A Polish linguist connects this word with the Greek god. So it must mean God, they say. Although Ivanov also prefers the left to right direction, he approaches the Biala inscription differently. His translation goes, Kanas Ivigi. So Kana and Ivi. This is the title used by Bulgarian ruler Omurtak in several inscriptions. Even the name Omurtak sounds Turkish. Omurtag. Written in Greek, it says, mighty king. The second group, I belong to this group, of researchers prefer to see the Proto-Bulgarian signs as tamgas, or property. So tamga is a Turkish name for the syllables, and they have meanings, all these tamgas. And Kandemirov gives an original interpretation of the Biala inscription as tamga stone. We will analyze it now. Kandemirov takes for model the Narash inscription. The Greek inscription was carved on a border column in the time of Bulgarian ruler Simeon near the city of Thessaloniki. The names of Archon, Simeon, and two other state officials, presumably responsible for the border, are listed in inscription. Now, have a look. Here is the, how do you call this? The Cyrillic form, right? And I also think Cyrillic was a kind of later derived runiform. Year 6412, the creation of the world, it says. Indict 7, border between Romans and Bulgarians. This could be possible, I think. Under Simeon, by God, Archon of Bulgarians. Under Theodore, Olgu Tarkan. Under Drister Comet. Right? I think there is a text like this written. Okay, as Biala inscription was also found on the border, Kandemirov sees 3 graphemes carved on it as tamgas of the Bulgarian ruler and his 2 subordinates. However, the tamga of the Bulgarian Archon is in the middle. In how the Bulgarian army was organized according to Hambarli inscription, center, left, right, and right wing. Also, the grapheme I has been seen by some Bulgarian historians as tamga of the clan Dulo, as it is the most used Proto-Bulgarian runic sign. This is the Turkic tamga, yes? It has many tamgas. Not sure how many there are, I'm not sure, but maybe 26 or 28, if I'm not mistaken. And one of them is this one. So this is an ancient Turkic runic tamga. The third group of researchers believe that, so this is also nice, runiform characters are logograms. To this group belongs Boris Simeonov and the author of this article. According to Simeonov, the Biala inscription reads Eb ili shun. That means, long live the home of the clan. His approach is mixed. Das is a logogram of the house, but I is ligature made of 3 characters and respectively of 2 and, okay, it explained it here. I'm unable to decipher this. Our latest reading of the Biala inscription is, this is also nice, Tura eri iki chit. It can be also interpreted in this way, because it says gods. Now, Tura means gods. And I think now that maybe Tur means God, and if you say Turk, it is a continuation of God, right? So maybe the ancient meaning of Tur and before it became Turk was God. So when you say Turk, actually it is something close to that meaning. Yes? So very interesting. It says, too holy, pray. Thus stays for Tura, God. So this tamga is Tura for gods, respectively I for eri iki, could be too holy, and this for pray. It could be possible. I liked the term Tura. Undoubtedly, the discoveries of runiform inscriptions near the Black Sea shore enriched the collection of runiform characters and thus contributed to the growing inventory of Bulgarian runiform script. Yes, it is actually these discoveries, I think, they have to do with the East Asian runic, with the Scandinavian runic, with the Hungarian runic, and also with the German runic, with the Old German, Proto-German runic. And also, I think they found some runics in Syria. So it was the Huns then, the Scythians, the Huns, and everywhere you look, you find the Huns, right? So they even came to Anatolia, as far as I'm not mistaken. And most probably, though, these were the proto-Bulgarians, the Turks, right, the common ancestor, who lived in those areas. And I think they also built the Hagia Sophia. It was, well, what they call Orthodox Greek, etc., is not actually Greek. I strongly believe that Bulgaria lived on these lands, Anatolia, so it was actually the proto-Turks of Orthodox belief, and they built the Hagia Sophia, and now the Bulgarians, they have their capital Sofia. It is like, now I want you to imagine, it is like our capital is Ankara, right? Okay. Now go further back to Siberia and look at the map where you find Angora, right? So Angora is actually the original form of Ankara, right? So it is the same logic. the same mindset, let's say, about people who want to give names to the region they occupy, or they live, they settle down. Yes. So, figure 3, the second, okay, let's go on with the literature. I think this is all right. So I actually I showed you the 3 meanings, and I especially liked the second and the third description of it. And I share these views now, and I learn, and I wanted to share it with you. Yes, thank you very much for listening. If you don't mind, you can add your comments on which meaning you share. Do you agree with the first meaning, the second meaning, or the third meaning? I'm curious. Now, how am I going to stop it? Okay.